Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Preliminary reactions are pouring in to World Boxing's decision to introduce mandatory sex testing for all athletes who wish to compete in any of their events, particular to the controversial athlete Emain Khalif. And reactions are mostly good. Mostly positive. Common sense won. Save a small substrata of individuals who I would say are in their tits, but they don't actually have any. A comment that reads, will you also ban biological females with XY chromosomes? Biological females don't have XY chromosomes. Such as those with Swyer syndrome, a female with a mutation in the CBX2 gene, biological females with XXXY mosaicism. Are you truly certain that a genetic test equates to a sex test? Yes, and what you're describing really only represents 1.7% of people around the world and less than 0 in the amateur boxing scene. Another individual said, okay, effing good, congratulations, and why now? A week before, and who guarantees the authenticity of test results? World Boxing does, who's overseeing all the amateur boxing and their team of medical experts and sports scientists. Who do you think? So another individual will say, I don't know if I understand correctly that a female with a Y chromosome and DSD shall compete with men? And who will protect these females? They're not females. World Boxing, we care about fairness. Also, World Boxing bans elite athletes for existing. Make it make sense. Y'all are embarrassing. Weak organization. What's embarrassing is how many people you're willing to alienate for your skewed perceptions. You really want biological males competing against biological females due to your own identity politics, irrespective of the physical advantages and the danger. You will notice that the only people at odds with mandatory PCR testing are members of a community that Emain Khalif doesn't even claim to be a part of. What do they care? They had a rooting interest in keeping Emain Khalif's secret. Another individual said, wow, everything Emain went through because of AIBA, and now you write a blog post to encourage the world to bully her? Are there any grown-ups in boxing? Yes, that's why common sense prevailed, and they're not going to play Land of Make-Believe alongside you. This is not the time or place for cosplay. Another disgruntled customer said, even if I were a woman, 100 times over, I would withdraw my participation after such humiliating treatment. But what's humiliating about it? They're not subjecting Emain Khalif to anything they're not subjecting everybody else to. Everybody has to get tested. They're not pigeonholing anybody. Everybody's subject to the same testing. So another disgruntled customer asked, are you all being paid by AIBA and Donald Trump with this bullying? The nerve. You think having separate categories for XX athletes and XY athletes is bullying? I think having a biological male competing against biological females is what's bullying. I think you're sick in the head. What a disgusting way to single out one woman, Emain Khalif, and then 6 days before the Eindhoven Cup. What do you mean singled out? You take the PCR test, and if you're XX athlete, you get to fight. But if you're not, then you don't. So I guess we're going back to the 50s with this whole way of sex testing. Yeah, if that's what we gotta do. This isn't about fairness, it's about control. Mandatory sex testing is invasive, unaccessory, and harmful. Harmful to who? Biological males who want to compete against biological females? It's disgusting what you're using to silence powerful athletes like Emain Khalif. If you care about fairness, you'd invest in proper education and inclusion.
Here's the magic word.
Not in policies that discriminate and destroy careers. My question is, how are so many of these people already convinced that Emain Khalif is not an XX athlete? Why are so many convinced?
Oh, gee, it's almost like you guys see the same thing that we see.
While telling us that there's nothing to see here and nothing to test. I can't tell you how many times through the ordeal last year I stated that if you don't trust AIBA's testing, simply have the IOC conduct a test of their own. So that when mandatory sex testing is implemented, now what you're saying is there shouldn't be any at all? Maybe it's because you know what they're gonna find. You've known the whole time, and your skin in the game is keeping this fighter's a secret, like you wish somebody would keep yours.
Except it ain't much of a secret.
You can see it in plain sight, though even with that, who should compete within a category boils down to more than what you can see with the naked eye. It's also what you might find on a PCR test, and that's why you don't want them to do one.
We're on different sides of the aisle, but on this much, we both seem to agree. Emain Khalif likely has Y chromosomes, and that's why you don't want that fighter tested.
Co-opting an issue that doesn't directly pertain to you, since Emain Khalif doesn't claim to be a member of your community, but that's your skin in the game. Semantics and secrets.
It's about time we put the clown back in the box, wouldn't you say?
Do you honestly think that all these crybabies have a DSD issue? That's not their issue.
That's not why they're piping up. They're not even boxing fans. I betcha none of these people watch boxing.
As stated, the percentage of individuals around the world
On Earth.
affected by this aberration, this deviation in sexual development, is about 1.7%. And the percentage of those individuals that find their way to an amateur boxing match is less than 0. So the very idea that you're going to alter the state of play and rules of engagement in order to accommodate this substrata, in effect alienating all those little girls and all those women by making them fight biological men.
That's insanity. That's madness.
The one thing I do agree upon is this is about control. Someone has to seize it. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of crazy, kooky, and colorful characters running around.
All's well that ends well. If Emain Khalif ain't got nothing to hide, take the test. And if Emain Khalif doesn't,
that tells the story.
I've been telling y'all about Snack for a long time. Victor Conte them. All right, so like, all right, hear me out. No bullshit for real. They make the drug at the limit of non-responsible. All right, so like this right here. This level is you're banned. That's a banned substance. They will make the drug all the way up to the line of the banned substance, but it just doesn't show, so it's not responsible. So they've been doing that shit for years, but now that they, tapped into it, it's getting caught.
I understand what Jamal is saying, that they microdose. They only dose up until the point they don't exceed the legal threshold for a substance, as to not constitute doping via WADA's regulations and VADA's regulations. I get it.
But what does Jaime Munguia's doping case have to do with either Victor Conte or Snack? Is he a Snack Systems athlete? Is Canelo?
I definitely don't think Canelo is, and the logical fallacy with saying that everybody in the sport is doping, all around the world, is that means you too. That includes you, Jamal.
What, we're supposed to believe that everybody in the sport is dirty, but you're not. Is that how it works?
See, you may as well not say anything at all, then give it away. What you know, and how would you know?
How would you know about microdosing? How would you know about not exceeding the legal threshold?
Seem very well versed on the subject, Jamal. Some might say that you're speaking from experience.
Y'all think Canelo haven't been taking Clinton Bruderol for a long ass time? Y'all think he ain't back on that shit? Or y'all think it was just a mistake? Because I go to Mexico all the time, from Houston, from Texas. I'm in Mexico all the time eating steak.
I never believed it was tainted meat when it came to Canelo. The way that he was fluctuating in weight at that time. Middleweight for Amir Khan, junior middleweight for Liam Smith, super middleweight for Julio Cesar Chavez, then back down to middle for Gandari.
And you just so happen to test positive for a weight-cutting agent that allows you to maintain muscle while losing fat.
These are all supposed to be coincidences. No, I said it then. I think Canelo knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think it came from tainted meat. I think he took a banned substance.
And I still think he's taking banned substances. The reason I'm not up in arms about it is because I think everybody's taking banned substances. Thus, pigeonholing one person doesn't make sense.
The sport is dirty, and the entire sport of boxing knows the sport of boxing is dirty. So when you point the finger at somebody else,
You're only doing that so that nobody points the finger at you.
I ain't never got popped for no shit like that. Think about it.
well, it's hard to turn in a hot test when you don't bother to take one. I remember years ago in 2018, the Charlo brothers as a package, the Charlo brothers jointly,
VADA representatives had paid them a visit, and the Charlo brothers were unavailable. They skipped out on being tested to the point where the World Boxing Council issued them a fine for missing those tests. So when you say that, well, I ain't ever been popped for nothing,
maybe it's because you've got a penchant for skipping out on testing. In tandem with a gag order from Al Heyman, I remember the following year, 2019, it was Victor Conte who stated, "My understanding is Al Heyman has requested that VADA not post test results for his boxers." Nicaraguan player, Guru Science, and WADA AMA, can you elaborate on why VADA doesn't publish more info? It'd be nice for them to make a lot more info public and easier to find. So even if a Charlo brother did fail a VADA test,
or some other PBC fighter at that time, we wouldn't know about it because Al Heyman specifically told them not to publish the results.
maybe that's why you always see Jermall Charlo going after Victor Conte and going after Snack, because Victor Conte went after them.
Way back there in 2019.
They microdosing it. They're taking. They're. Look, no excuse. I'm not trying to put nobody out there. This don't got. This not just boxing. This a lot of athletes all over the world. They make the drug right there to the line of like this qualification, but they don't surpass it. So they're not getting caught for it. A lot of these fighters on all kind of shit.
Now, Victor Conte isn't taking this accusation from Jermall lying down. He replied by saying, "Hi, Jermall Charlo. I suggest that you stop telling outright lies about me and Snack. You've been spreading false information without a single shred of evidence to support any of the things that you've been saying. There's not been a single positive drug test by any of the boxers actively working with Snack in the past 15 years. If you have any credible evidence of any wrongdoing by me or Snack or any Snack boxer, then I suggest that you post it immediately or stop your slanderous statements. Buck up, Charlo. What credible evidence do you have? Try zero. If you have any type of credible evidence, then show the world of boxing what you have. Otherwise, it may be wise for you to stop telling damaging, utter lies to the world of boxing."
So is it possible that Victor Conte is still dealing out peds to fighters that work with him? I say yes.
But it's just as possible that Jermall Charlo is a fighter that's been doping, all without the assistance of Victor Conte. What do you think? It's just the Conte fighters that are doping? And Victor, more than some others, has reason to defend himself against such an accusation since he's done time for it before, for dealing peds to lots of different athletes in lots of different sports. So he's not going to take this lying down.
Unless he wants to spend his senior years in club fed.
It was a different time. Back then, doping in organized sports was a lot more frowned upon than it is now, whereas now it's accepted as an occupational hazard and a reality of the trade, whether you're a baseball player, a basketball player, or a boxer.
A cyclist.
Doping in organized sports is commonplace. Thus, pigeonholing any one guy or any one group is a redundancy in a sport that's dirty and knows that it's dirty.
It's shocking. It's just shocking. I can't really comment on it, but it's pretty shocking. My perspective is, who's their trainer? I mean, if there's 4 fighters who are testing positive for whatever drug, well, who's the trainer? Because the trainer should oversee that. The trainer should overlook that. Whether they have a nutritionist, whether they have a doctor, but the trainer is in charge. So, I don't know, maybe you should talk to him.
Oscar De La Hoya, in his fashion, has taken this as yet another opportunity to take a shot at Team Canelo, Eddy Reynoso in particular, but he's not wrong is he in his suspicions. I want to make this clear, that I do think Eddy Reynoso is providing his fighters with banned substances. It can't be a coincidence that so many of the fighters that have passed through his gym have at some point tested positive for PEDs. It's because he's given them to him.
What's the head count? Canelo, Oscar Valdez, Jaime Munguia, Luis Nery.
But if we're going to treat this like RICO law and make Eddy Reynoso guilty by association, then I guess that also applies to Derek James. Because when Ryan Garcia tested positive for Osterin, that's who was training him.
Not Eddy Reynoso. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and if you ain't got evidence, all that is slander.
If Eddy Reynoso is guilty by association because of Jaime Munguia, I guess Derek James is guilty by association because of Ryan. And should we look at the fighters that have passed through Derek James?
Passed through his gym, at least one of the Charlo brothers, Errol Spence Jr., Frank Martin.
Are they all also PED users, just ones that haven't been caught?
Covering doping in the sport of boxing really is a minefield. Because when you look around, everyone is culpable to some degree. Everyone is responsible. And it just seems to me that everybody knows what's going on, but nobody wants to be responsible for it.
Oscar's sitting there pretending to be shocked, pretending to be surprised when not that long ago his own fighter was dealing with a doping fiasco. And he stood by him, he argued Ryan's innocence, and he did the exact same thing when Canelo Alvarez was over there, when Canelo was one of his fighters. What, rules for thee, but not for me?
Canelo's clenbuterol situation took place while he was still being promoted by Golden Boy. And when all of that happened, Oscar stood by him. He argued his innocence. So you really can't take it from Oscar.
Even if he's making a valid point, you could make those same valid points about Oscar. I remember when Lance Armstrong let the cat out of the bag, that at a certain level, in his sport, everybody's doping. And at that level, it's about keeping up with the Joneses. It's tantamount to an industry standard, and I think that the same applies here. So if everybody's doping, if everybody's cheating, is it still cheating?
Sort of a paradox. The whole idea behind cheating is to gain a competitive edge over the competition. But if the competition is doing what you're doing, is it still an edge? I mean, they've got the same edge that you've got.
You're trying to get a leg up on them. They're trying to get a leg up on you. And at the end of the day, you're both doing the same thing. So is it still cheating if everybody's doing it?
Don't be naive.
Don't argue Jaime's innocence to me, or Eddy Reynoso's for that matter. It's very obvious that whether you're talking about the fighters at Reynoso's gym, or Victor Conte's snack fighters, or the guys that Memo Heredia trains.
He's got the same kind of background as Victor Conte. Gee, I wonder what he's up to.
And do you think that doping is exclusive to the United States and Mexico? They're doping in the UK too. All the rumors about what goes on at Dominic Engel's gym. Have you seen the size of that guy's arms? Have you seen that guy without a shirt on?
No. Why would I have seen Dominic Engel without a shirt on?
The point is, in the United Kingdom or the United States, Mexico or Russia, Australia.
It's all over the place. Stop thinking of doping in the sport of boxing as a witch hunt and start thinking about it as an industry standard.
Some guys are just better at hiding it.